Yes, so Laurence Pell gave me this topic, which is the how to manage today the tendon lesions in the setting of the acute stroke. It's a very common situation because it represents 20 to 30% of the cases we do. So the concern is that in most of the cases the patient had a clot in the brain arteries and a lesion of the carotid artery, which can be either a dissection or atherosclerotic stenosis of the carotid. And then the first point is whether we should do those cases in patients with together a brain clot and a lesion of the cervical artery. And it has been, there were only very few cases in the randomized trials about that, because for the FDA, when you do a carotid stenting, it's a major adverse event. So there is nothing in the literature about the fact that we should do something for the carotid lesion. It's clear indeed that those cases should be treated. The problem is how we should do it. And there are two questions. The first one is whether we should start by recanalizing the M1, the intracranial artery, or whether we should start by dealing with the carotid lesion. And the other concern or discussion is whether we should do the stenting or no stenting and try to avoid stent, because as soon as you use a stent you need at least aspirin and if possible the day after Plavix as well, so you need 2 antiplatelet therapy, and this increases the risk of deep bleed because of the acute stroke. So there are two questions: which one first, brain first or neck first, and then should we stent or not stent? And we don't have a lot of data about that. There are meta-analyses. There is a new study that will be published soon showing that finally if you do stenting you don't increase the risk of bleed. So it's clear indeed that we more and more use stenting to avoid just recanalizing the brain, leave the patient with some carotid lesion that increase the risk of stroke recurrence. So we do more and more stenting. When initially we were avoiding stenting absolutely to avoid the risk of deep bleed. But now we do more and more stenting, and I would say that we very often start by the carotid lesion and then we go to the brain. It's more logical to start with the brain because this is a brain you want to save. So the point is that we have to retrieve the clot from the middle cerebral artery as soon as possible. The fact is, if you do the stenting first, you don't lose time. It takes 5 minutes, and then you go up to the brain. And in my opinion, probably it's the best solution, because the other solution is to retrieve the clot from the brain first, and then to deal with the carotid artery. But then there is a high risk of re-embolizing the brain because of the stenting which is done in the acute phase. So this is why we usually start today by carotid stenting, if it's needed. And then we go above the stent with an intermediate catheter, and then we deal with the brain arteries. To my knowledge, there is no studies about that. There is no randomized study. There are many other new randomized studies that will start soon, and it's clear that we need to randomize for a long period of time to better know what we should do in this stroke care. The RCTs will concern the major stroke, the minor stroke, the need for IV or not, the organization, whether we should send the patient to a mothership or a drip and ship hospital. But there is nothing concerning the carotid artery. So, and I think it's not something we should randomize. So we need better knowledge, we need large registry to better understand, but probably nobody will randomize these patients. We need better devices for brain arteries. So because since SAMPRI studies, we do less and less intracranial artery stenting. But in cases of patients presenting with a stroke and stroke related to intracranial artery stenosis, we need stent, and we don't have stent today for brain arteries and intracranial atherosclerotic stenosis.
So there's still this unmet need of...
Absolutely. For brain arteries, for the carotid we don't need, we have very good stent and the technique works very well. The only point is that we need aspirin, at least, and if possible, 2 antiplatelets. So that increases the risk of hemorrhagic transformation.